here we are. And it's now like there's one video after another video after. It seems like this is going to be the big news this week. And my feeling is, is it real? I mean, what are we supposed to believe? The videos sound real. Why would the timing be now? You think it's linked to 2030? You think it's linked to that?
100%. Not only that, but where we're at as civilization right now. And look at what's going on overseas. We're very fortunate that it's not here because it is real, and
Right.
Millions of people are suffering right now, and we're getting closer than ever to using nuclear weapons again. 2 minutes
crazy.
to midnight. So they're coming out and they're saying, look, they're getting recon on everything.
Right.
So they could shut everything down at once.
Oh, now you're scaring me. Come on. Now you're scaring me, Rex. You're scaring me. So we're going to shut everything down.
They shut down one, then there's a million others that could launch at that time. So they'd have to shut everything down because they know the protocols and they're reconning everything. And the question is, if they shut everything down,
then I'm deeply alarmed by the reporting of massive drone swarm that flew over Langley Air Force Base in Virginia last December. Reports of this incident indicate these drones were roughly 20 feet long, flying more than 100 miles an hour at an altitude of over 3,000 feet. Yet the origin of these drones and their operators remains a mystery. This incident and other sightings near sensitive military installations highlights the complexity of the UAP challenge facing our intelligence, defense, and homeland security committees.
Real quick, and then we're going to get back to the podcast. Check us out over on Patreon. Why? Because I have hundreds of hours of exclusive content, ad-free, uncensored, unedited, stuff that we can only talk about on Patreon, beyond the cutting edge. And if there's an interview that you want me to do, a guest that you want me to get on the show, or a topic that you want me to discuss, if you leave a comment over on Patreon, I'll do my best to get that guest on the podcast or that subject. And I'll even do my best to get back to you here on YouTube. And your contributions greatly help Leak Project. So check us out over on Patreon, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel here and hit the bell for all notifications, and check back daily for new podcasts, because we upload podcasts pretty much every single day. And has anyone told you today that you're awesome? Because you are.
Before I, started this show right now, there were in Arizona, people are airing all of this footage that you're looking at right now, and it's blowing their minds. These spears that are like just appearing everywhere. Reminds me a little bit of that movie that was done in 1998 called Spear, Barry Levinson. We also recently talked about, give me a second here, let me pull this up, my notes. That's why I like editing.
Hadouken! It's the best.
Earlier this year, I shared this crazy dream that I had about aliens, where I said that, aliens were invading, and I looked up and they all looked like these helium, like balloons, and they were everywhere. And then the alien balloons, they these like spear-like objects released this, I don't know what it was like this black substance, and then I was blind. But when I woke up from the dream, I was going, maybe, all of this stuff isn't exactly what we think. Maybe there's more to it. So I find it interesting that here we are not too long after, right? And everybody's talking about the spears. So you know what I do? I bring on UFO, UAP, the expert himself, Rex Bear from Leak Project. Say hi, Rex. I'm good, man. I'm so excited that you're here.
Me too. Thanks for the opportunity. It's good to see you. Thanks for it's actually been nice. I was thinking to myself, when am I going to have the opportunity to speak to Jacob again? I mean, so let's talk about it, man. I have been diving deep into these drones that are flying over military sites, and I think they're more than just drones, and we can talk about that in a minute. But
hang on a second. You got one right behind you now. You told me while we were setting this up, you're like, Jacob, you're going to freak out, dude. This is the thumbnail for the podcast I'm uploading right now. Because Rex and I said, Rex, we got to talk about aliens. This is the thing. I reached out to him and I'm like, can you do a show in 20 minutes? He's like, yeah, let's do it. You know why? Because the world needs us, Rex. If the alien invasion is happening, they need you to tell them what it is. What do you think it is?
Okay. Oh man, I'm so torn on this because at first I thought it was just, like actually military aerial vehicles that are gathering recon.
Like the Chinese spy balloon?
Yeah, but much more advanced.
Right.
Because a Chinese spy balloon, that's easily trackable. You can follow that to where it's going with satellites, helicopters. One of the reports of a UAP that was shot down over Lake Huron last year,
right,
was an F-16 fighter jet that launched a missile, and they said they launched it at a balloon, and the balloon slowly fell to the bottom, and they found some debris, but they're not sure if it was the debris that they shot down. But they said that the debris that they found was a balloon. But I mean, is it normal for like you launch a missile at a balloon, a weather balloon, and it just slowly falls to the ground?
Yeah, very strange. Instead of just like smacking, like blowing up immediately. This whole thing, they just had the conference. We talked, I think this was our last show. Was this our last show?
Yeah.
Did we talk about, this is crazy. This is the last show we did. And we're like, yeah, we're going to probably start to see it. We're going to start seeing footage, we said. This was our last show. And now here we are.
Right.
And it was I think it was just a couple of weeks ago. It was like the 13th we taped this, I think last.
There's a reason we're coming together because like when you were asking me a minute ago what I think these things are, at first I thought they were just military vehicles. I thought possibly defense contractors that are outside of the military, connected with the military, could be making certain things in laboratories that the rest of the military doesn't know about. It's so compartmentalized anyway. Even if you have a top secret security clearance, you're still compartmentalized. You'll know a lot, but there's other compartments that you're not going to know about. So I thought, could these things be, testing the waters, trying to build up a fear-based mindset with the people so that new rules and regulations and monies could be brought in for anti-drone technologies, especially if we look at what's going on overseas now with the drones. But the more and then somebody sent me a link the other day about how in 1952, there were hundreds of thousands of sightings, and you can look this up. This is all public available information. It's not a conspiracy theorist website. I mean, you can even look it up on Wikipedia. And
did that have something to do with the I don't know, the maybe weapons technology or something? You think that's why?
Well, okay, so if we go back to 1952, there were thousands of sightings of UAPs, UFOs flying over the Capitol, and it happened for 17 days.
Right. 17.
days.
That's Trump's number.
Well, this is where it gets interesting. 71 years later is when Langley gets these swarms of UAPs that fly over Langley.
Okay.
They fly over Langley for 17 days.
Yeah.
So you've got 17 in 1952. 71 years. So the opposite of 17
backwards.
Years to the sightings in Langley, and then it's another 17 days. So
that's
then
the letter Q.
Well, yeah, and somebody had mentioned that. So I started thinking to myself, okay, maybe this isn't just military drones flying over in attempts to create this like public outcry, this public archetype. I think that these things could, and then I started thinking, okay, how come they can't catch them? If you've got drones flying over Langley, that is a federal offense.
That's crazy.
Dude, if you get caught doing that, you're in deep. But then they say, oh, well, we can't shoot them down because we're in an area that's surrounded by a civilians, and there's civilian aircraft and such in the area. So we can't shoot them down. We can't set up anti-drone technologies. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's just really bizarre. So they get law, but it's law. I guess it's a law that if they're not interfering with the military at the time, then it has to be like the FBI can get involved and law enforcement can get involved, but how are they not catching these things?
I saw a video just yesterday where it was over a military base, and there was this young family, and it was an orb, or just a bright light. Everybody's calling it an orb, and like an F-16 or something started coming to it, and it was like hovering there, and it went like up and then it went like diagonal, and then went like this. And I go, hang on a second. That's not the way a plane flies. I mean, maybe it could be like a drone, but it would be a huge drone. I mean, I guess a regular drone could do something like that. Do you think there's a possibility that it could be alien?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a possibility. It could also be a breakaway civilization. It could also be a civilization that's from Earth that has survived multiple epochs and cataclysms and has continued to build up their technologies because they're a breakaway civilization. So we
kind of like kind of like overlords of the planet or something, maybe like an alien species. I mean, are you thinking something like what is it called? The Galactic Federation?
Maybe.
What about that? Do you remember that guy, Herzog? What is his name? What was his name? Let me look this guy up. Eshad in Israel. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about him.
If anybody's going to know about extraterrestrial civilizations, it's Mashet. The guy is at the top of the echelon in Israeli aerial defense and space programs. He's at the top of the sphere there. He says that we're working with the Galactic Federation on Mars, and that they're not ready to make themselves known yet because we don't understand space, and we don't understand spaceships, and we don't understand the technologies yet. So that could be somebody saying, well, he's just breaking character, or he's just trying to create this archetype of a fake alien invasion like Von Braun talked about before he passed, saying the last card is going to be the alien invasion card. And then you can go back to people. There was a gal that was like, she thought she was talking to the Greys, and she thought that Planet X was going to return. She put her dog down. She had her dog put down. This was back in the year 2000.
Like literally, she thought it was really going to be like the end of the world type of a thing. And she's like, I'm going to, take care of my dog because I love my dog.
Yep. She had her dog put down. And, I'm not going to, most people, if you can find out who this person is, she was really big in the Planet X community 20 years ago.
That's really sad, man.
Yeah, it is really sad, saying that she's talking to Zeta Reticuli and stuff. And so that was, so there's different galactic federations. The reason I'm bringing that up is there's the Galactic Federation of Light from the 45th dimension, where everybody's going to save you with the unicorns and butterflies. And I can feel it through this quantum connection that I'm holding my crystals, and they're talking to me. And then there's like the Galactic Federation that is, if there is a non-human or a human, but also galactic federation that is overseeing certain planets when they get to a specific level of technology. Maybe they're not worried about them as much blowing up themselves, but what happens if they get that technology into space? And, you're not going to travel to Zeta Reticuli with a rocket thruster. I don't care how many nuclear, how powerful that nuclear technology is. It's going to have to be some type of space warp, wormhole technologies. Which
Zeta Reticuli sounds like something that you need like bacitracin for.
What is it?
Sounds like
you need what?
Like an antibiotic. You have Zeta Reticuli. 9 out of 10 doctors recommend. I mean, this is a little.
It's interesting you said that, because that's where the probes came from. Like, and so here's another thing that's really interesting, folks. I mean, and keep up with what I'm saying here, because one of the gentlemen that brought these aliens from Zeta Reticuli on the map, because he had an abduction experience and they said they were from Zeta Reticuli. First of all, if you get abducted from something that has high technologies, they could say they're from anywhere. And, so just put that in perspective. But this person has a horrific experience. And I believe that they had this experience. I just don't think that aliens from Zeta Reticuli did it. And I'll tell you why. Because this person brought up how he was probed. And I'll just leave it at that. But then he brought up...
Check. We've gotten to the point where we're talking about probe. Danielle!
This is important. I'm telling you, it's important. So he describes the tool used. And I thought to myself, that sounds like something a veterinarian would use.
Okay.
You got to be real careful when you start thinking about aliens and galactic federations and people coming to save you.
People with imagination. It sounds to me like what you're saying is that people can take this a little bit too far. And,
or they can have, let's say there's a group out there, a very nefarious group, that if you do have an experience with an ET, then they come out and they do something to you like MK style. And then you don't really know what happened. So they kind of cover the memories. So,
like my childhood.
Your childhood? Are you serious?
I had a lot of abuse, but that's okay.
I'm sorry,
Moving
bro.
on.
That sucks.
That's all right. I got my dog's ashes today, Daisy, who I love so much. So today's just been a weird day. And so I thought the idea of talking about aliens would be a good thing. And now that we've gone into the realm of what probes are, speaking of the vet, I think it's pretty. It's time to move on to the spear behind you, because this is. Do you remember that movie? In the movie was Dustin Hoffman and Samuel L. Jackson, Sharon Stone. It was like a physicist and like a poet or whatever. And they there was the spear, but it turns out they found out it was an alien artifact, and the alien artifact could interact with them and also had something to do with time travel. But ultimately, it was there to basically observe like mankind and in their next epoch. And so I wonder if this is real, if it could be some kind of, the overlords are like, hey, we're making ourselves known. They had that. Do you remember the parade in Egypt where they took all the pharaohs, all the gods came up and they paraded them in? That was right around the same time that we heard about those pyramid UFOs. Do you remember the pyramid UFOs?
Oh yeah.
That Blink 182 and all of those guys that were at the Congress recently were talking about pyramid UFOs. That was it's like a couple of years ago. And that's when the Galactic Federation came out. And so I was getting the vibe that it's like, we're trying, you guys aren't ready yet, but you have like a certain amount of time to get that news out. Did you hear about that? Like you have like a certain amount of time before to give everybody disclosure. Do you think that maybe this could be disclosure happening right now?
I do. I do. And I'll tell you what, you're giving me an awesome vibe here, because the orbs, the spheres, Kristen and I saw a metallic sphere, the Ghost of Springs, during the day, about 1:30, 2 o'clock, at the 11 o'clock position, 50 feet or less off the ground. It's a silver orb, metallic. It's shiny. It's there 1 second. By the time I get my phone to take a picture, it's gone. I said, did you see that, Kristen? She goes, what, the disc? She saw a disc, but a disc could be like this, and I said, well, yeah, did you see that orb? And she's like, yeah. And so Kristen saw it. I saw it daytime, not at night. It's there. Then it's gone. It's physical.
Well, they're watching you. They're watching you. You've been, disclosing all of this stuff about the aliens for a long time. So of course they're onto you, Rex. They're onto you.
Dude, what you're saying, man, that makes so much sense.
I mean, come on. Of course it makes sense. You're like the OG of YouTube, pal. You don't think the aliens are watching you?
Well, thanks, brother. I love you, man. I don't mean like that. I just mean like the presence, this presence that is, like you said, overlords watching out for us, watching our evolution, watching how we respond, watching, where we're going to take this. And it's 2030, man. There's a big connection with 2030. They're watching us.
The agenda. Yeah, that's the agenda.
Maybe
get ready for everybody.
Dude. So that's why they can't shoot these drones down. That's why they can't catch these drones.
Probably. Yeah.
Because they're not hobbyist drones. Beyond our wow.
It's a little hobby drone.
Yeah. I picked it up at the Walmart. It's a quad.
Remember the balloon though? But this being said, I remember I was at an airport and we were traveling and every single TV had. Do you remember the helium balloon where they thought the kid was stuck in it and everybody thought it was an alien thing? Gee, it could be. Who knows? That's the thing is they had these meetings and then we did that show. I actually I'm going to play a clip from it. And here we are. And it's now like there's one video after another video after. It seems like this is going to be the big news this week. And my feeling is, is it real? I mean, what are we supposed to believe? The videos sound real. Why would the timing be now? You think it's linked to 2030? You think it's linked to that?
100%. Not only that, but where we're at as civilization right now. And look at what's going on overseas. We're very fortunate that it's not here, because it is real, and
Right.
millions of people are suffering right now, and we're getting closer than ever to using nuclear weapons again. 2 minutes
crazy.
to midnight. So they're coming out and they're saying, look, they're getting recon on everything.
Right.
So they could shut everything down at once.
Oh, now you're scaring me. Come on. Now you're scaring me, Rex. You're scaring me. So we're going to shut everything down.
They shut down one, then there's a million others that could launch at that time. So they'd have to shut everything down because they know the protocols and they're reconning everything. And the question is, if they shut everything down, then what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would be mayhem. That would be mayhem. I mean, think people would go nuts. They'd be scared.
Along with Odie and I, released an unclassified report on UAP sightings. Of the 366 sightings included in the report, 171 remain uncharacterized, with some of these appearing to have demonstrated unusual flight characteristics or performance capabilities. That's a nice way of saying we don't want to tell you what they are. In March, AARO revealed a report on the historical record of U.S. government involvement with UAPs, which covered investigatory efforts going back from 1945 to the present day. Earlier this year, I joined Congressman Burchett to introduce the UAP Transparency Act, which would require the declassification of all documents related to UAPs, with many other members of this committee. In fiscal year 2024, the NDA required the National Archives and Records Administration to establish the Unidentified Anonymous Phenomena Records Collection. This collection will include digital copies of all unidentified UAP records that can be publicly disclosed.
Incursions of unauthorized unmanned aerial systems last year in December 2023. The number of those UAS incursions did fluctuate on any given day. But they didn't appear to exhibit any hostile intent.
Pentagon spokeswoman Sabrina Singh was asked Tuesday why the Air Force did not shoot down the drones.
I do know that with all of these incursions, given that it's, on U.S. soil, there is another level of coordination within the interagency that needs to take place. But the commander absolutely had his or her authorities to engage any systems that are a threat to the base.
Jacob's one of my favorite people to talk to. It's always nice to hear from him. And check out his YouTube channel, Jacob Israel. Make sure to hit the bell for all notifications. Check out his book, The Calling, the Book of Thomas James. It's got almost all 5-star reviews. He's got a really cool website. I'm going to leave the link in the video description box. And also check us out over on Patreon for exclusive content. You can be a Patreon for like $5, and that definitely helps Leap Project grow. That helps us continue to do the podcasts and pay for operating expenses. We put about 10 to 12 hours a day into our podcasts. And thanks for watching. Have a beautiful day and be the change you want to see.